Cyberpunk 2077 is finally out. It only took them 8 years to make this game. And man, the hype for this game was over the roof. To many, this seemed like a video game to end all video games. And with CD Projekt Red being a developer coming off their lukewarm Witcher 3 release, they were being touted as a dev team that can do absolutely no wrong, our saviors. Despite the fact that they've only made 2 games that were good in their history, and they made one of the worst PC ports in the history of CD ports in Saints Row 2, which is a fantastic game, by the way. If you have a chance to play it, just figure it out. There's a mod to fix it. Figure it out. Surely though, this game will be great. It took 8 years to make. There is no way the developer that made the Witcher game series could possibly make a bad game, right?
Good morning, Night City!
I want to start off with the good parts of this game. The graphics of the city on a PC, specifically with a high-end card, are fantastic. That may sound very technical, but this game is a beast to play, and it needs a lot of NPCs, ray tracing, and neon lights everywhere to make it look the best the city can possibly be. The music as well just sounds tremendous. Almost every song, minus that weird Korean pop song, was fantastic to listen to me, even with the copyright songs turned off. The main story in this game has a lot of cool ideas. I really relate to the character of Johnny Silverhand. He's essentially me, but has the balls to actually go out and do the things that he's thinking of.
Finally realized what your problem is. Always been a corpo cog, a replaceable part. Once Sokka booted you out, stripped you of perks, best you could hope for was to be a scav exterminator.
The side missions, on the other hand, are the meat and potatoes of this game, not the gigs. Because gigs are just generic missions where you play through the same thing time and time again.
Don't worry, you deserve it. You're one tough cookie, and yet so nice.
Not to everyone.
I couldn't be mean even if I wanted to. Especially to you. Can't speak ill of the dead, right?
Wait, what?
You're not supposed to be here, and yet here you are, like a glitch in the system, or a demon coded by a brilliant netrunner.
Side missions can get a little quirky, a little odd, a little off, but most importantly, they can be a lot of fun at times. Whether it's a talking gun, finding kidnapped kids, or trying to calm down sentient cars, the side missions can have a lot of personality in them.
I have a surprise waiting for you after this next test. Telling you would spoil the surprise, so I'll just give you a hint. I'm going to kill you, and all the cake is gone. I honestly, truly didn't think you'd fall for that.
Okay, that's enough.
You chose this path. Now I have a surprise for you. Deploying surprise in 5, 4, let's see. Turning soft bodies into hard.
I am a little upset by how short this whole game is though. I'm sure I did either all or most of the side missions, and it took me about 40-ish hours to complete. Okay, well, that's the end of the good things. Buckle up, boys. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
We have a city to burn.
I want to talk about the graphics first and foremost. Yes, I talked about how good the city can look, but it's about like a driving game. Yes, it looks really good when you're flying at 140 miles per hour, but then look really close at each model and realize that not only is it probably floating in the air, it also has less polygons than a Final Fantasy VII field model in beta. For all the hype about how great these graphics are, the lighting is really the only major standout. And don't get me wrong, that is very important. Probably the most important thing. Good lighting can develop an atmosphere in a game and hide ugly textures or models. But this game's lighting doesn't really hide anything. You don't have to be looking at it very hard to see it. It's like every model that isn't a player model looks like a Spider-Man boat person. You know, those guys way out in the distance that you can get up close to. It's disgusting. Now look off in the distance. Look at those cars. Those blocky square rectangles making 90-degree turns. Fantastic. Then you add the performance of this game and it hurts even more. This game is unplayable on the consoles that it's actually released for. Despite saying not too long ago that it runs well, both the PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox One X versions really struggle to run this game. And I know a lot of people want to say, oh, it's just buggy. A lot of these problems aren't bugs, man. This is how the game was designed. This is how they wanted to make it. And just for fun, here's a list of games that can actually run on the PlayStation 4/Xbox One and look significantly better while doing it. Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla, Marvel's Spider-Man and Miles Morales, Shadow of the Colossus, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted 4, Batman Arkham Knight. We're not going to worry about the PC port, we're talking strictly consoles. God of War, The Last of Us Part 2, Resident Evil 2, and still the best looking game on the market today, Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm sure there's many more, but this is all that I can think of off the top of my head. Now I've already talked a little bit about the story, so let's go further deep into it. If you're worried about spoilers, this is your warning. You play as V, a character where you can choose the backstory to. Now this story drags on and on with a lot of unnecessary scenes that are completely scripted. A full-on dialogue option that changes the story here is completely fictional. No matter what you choose in the main story or what you say or do, it'll all end up the same way anyway. There are scenes in this game where you sit around and talk for about 40 minutes or watch a scene for 30 minutes where your input doesn't actually matter and all leads to a scripted point anyway. The story of this game lasts you about 15-ish hours, and for 10 of those hours, you're just sitting around listening or waiting for a character. That might not seem too bad, but when the action part of an action game is only 3 to 4 to 5 hours long, then it's a big problem. And yes, I said action game. This game is not an RPG. If anything, this game is more closer to a single-player looter shooter without any substance. The 3 different options you can have to change how you start only affect the prologue of the game. Yes, there are some additional side missions and a very few options sprinkled out throughout the game, but none of them matter at all to the point of no return. And at which that point, only 2 side mission trees and what you choose then and there now affect the ending. There is 5 different variants of the ending, 1 with a romance partner, 1 with a Johnny ending, 1 with a V ending, 2 Arasaka endings, which I suppose is the biggest corpo in the game since it's really the only one you interact with. On top of all this fake gameplay, you also get some very subpar performances in some of these cutscenes. But no, I don't think this was Keanu Reeves honing it in. I think this is a poor sound director giving him a bad direction.
Where the hell's Rogue? Sit. Stay.
There are some flashback sequences, and Johnny sounds like he was told that he was supposed to be angry at his coffee machine that didn't work in the morning. Some of the sound effects don't work at all, and some are even on par with Ride to Hell Retribution. this, I do think the characters that V interacts with are great. Jackie, Judy, oh man, Judy, Panam, oh my god, Panam, Rogue, even Johnny with his poor direction are all pretty likable characters. I do think a lot of this was because we spend so much time with them talking.
Don't tell him nothing. Don't get involved. This muck is deeper than you think. Suck you in if you're not careful.
Let me give you an example of how long these dialogue sequences are. Let's look at the mission Stadium Love. I want to give you a summary of this mission. It's essentially a shooting range with 4 different spots to go to. The quest giver could easily go, who are you? You want to shoot? You're not better than my man here. Think you are? 4 different stations? Shoot as many as you can, but you've got to take a shot before you do it. Instead, it takes about 2.5 minutes to tell you to shoot things. This is just bad design. Ironically, one of the biggest selling points for the new Sony PlayStation 5 console is to get into the action quicker. I guess it makes sense that this game got taken down for it, huh? It wouldn't be that bad here and there, and it would probably even be good if what you said actually made a difference, but it don't. Speech checks, skill checks, and are nearly completely empty in this game. Occasionally one will pop up, but 9 times out of 10, it's just to add one line before continuing down the same script the game would do if you didn't bring it up. This was a major selling point of this game. Night City was promoted as this world that adopted to your playstyle, and there is consequences for your actions, but it's just not true. Matter of fact, Night City altogether is just a faceless, zombie-filled sandbox that is a loading screen for team missions. I honestly think this game would be better if you had all the missions available to you in a hub environment, such as your apartment, and you can choose the mission you want and it boots up. That would have made this game so much better, and it would probably run better. But we aren't anywhere near those glitches yet, and I'm already talking about performance already. You know what, I'm going to double down on something. Let's say this game didn't have a single glitch or bug in it. It would still be a mediocre mess of a game. The driving physics are just downright awful. It's like a mix between Grand Theft Auto 4 and Saints Row the Third. Vehicles rotate on a dime, but slip and slide everywhere, which is a bit of a shame because sometimes you won't slide, and that actually happens to be pretty good because it actually feels good when it doesn't. You know what would make driving even better? AI. Like any AI at all. The cars in this game are set on a linear path, never moving from the invisible train tracks that they are on, unless you park in front of them. In that case, they will just form a line behind your car with nowhere to go. There's even a section of the city where the cars literally drive through a wall. That's the way this game is programmed, folks. They'll spawn and despawn right in front of your eyes. The LOD models don't make any sense as they just disappear out of thin air, as do cars who are directly behind you just outside camera shot. What's even worse is that the AI NPCs that walk around the city do the same things. They wander around with no life, no motivation, no goal, just out there roaming around like a zombie doing nothing. Pull out a gun and they won't move. Shoot? Now some will run, but many will just crouch down low. Get this though, this is fantastic. The police system in this game, completely non-existent. If you're in a room and you get a wanted level, do it 360 and it will spawn multiple police officers in the room with you. Where did they come from? Where did they go? Only Cotton Eye Joe knows. Sorry about that. The real kicker with the police system in this game goes back to the driving system. As in, cops can't drive a car in this game at all. There are no helicopters or anything in this game either. Police are physically incapable of operating a vehicle that they would have to go off their train tracks on the street to do so. And when I say there's no helicopters or planes, I mean in the whole game. Yes, you see things flying about. No, you can't drive those. All right. Now this is something I actually put in the script late while I was actually recording this, and I thought I already had finished everything I wanted to say about this, but oh boy, we're not done yet. Because I seem to forgot about the physics in general in this game, or lack thereof. I'm talking about the response of doing literally anything in this game. The cars can literally bounce off the road in a big crash. There isn't even any splashing effects or ripples, not even on the puddles in the road. Taking a cane to a car window will make the car receive nothing but a scratch. Touching a pole ever so slightly causes it to go flying across the map. If an item falls down in front of you, it will either just stop and look like it got stuck in mud or completely disappear. The citizens of Night City are so stupid that they will actually fall in front of your car before you run them over, or you will just go right through them. Car damage is almost completely non-existent. Punching someone or hitting someone with a weapon, they'll just pretend that nothing happened. Throwing a grenade or at a car results in almost no damage at all of the car. Almost nothing in this game reacts to each other. It's the equivalent of smashing a bunch of Lego blocks together with your hands. Every once in a while, a car will just jump up for no reason, or you die by climbing onto something. You can run a dude over with a car, the car will flip, the guy will stand up and shoot the car. The only more ridiculous set of physics I can think of is when you melee a car in Borderlands 1. But while that game just has a very particular instance that causes it, this one is the whole game. I was going to compare this game's physics to Grand Theft Auto 3. Yes, Grand Theft Auto 3, the OG open world game on a PlayStation 1 back in 2001. But no, it's worse than that. I encourage you to look up Cyberpuke vs. Gangstar Vegas, a mobile game that is a Grand Theft Auto clone from 7 years ago, running on a Samsung Galaxy, I don't even know what version. There is a bunch of other videos that are online on how bad this game really is in terms of physics and AI. And the real winner here is any open world game that isn't Cyberpunk, because literally every single game has a more believable world than the city of Night City. Rockstar, I applaud you. I will never, well, that's not true, I will diss you again, but man, wow, your games are way better than I thought they were. The controls in this game are poor. Luckily, you can change some of them, but having the crouch key and the skip line key as the same button might be the biggest oversight anyone has ever had in a video game. At the time, you go to get up off of your feet and you'll just skip ahead. One good thing coming from this game system is how the game never slows or focuses in on a character during dialogue. You all know in Elder Scrolls games where the NPC will stop what they're doing and talk to you, or the game around you will freeze. Well, this game, they'll just keep on doing whatever they're doing, and it just makes it feel way more natural than really any other video game in the market to date. So congrats! So far, you've got one thing right in the gameplay department. Let's go back to the actual controls, since this is supposed to be the control section of this review. There is an option to dash ahead in this game. They talked briefly about it in the tutorial section, specifically in the melee combat, but I hope you like doing it a lot, because when you accidentally double tap a direction, then you're gonna go flying. The combat in this game is a joke, man. The guns just feel horrible with almost no inertia or awkward aiming, and the enemies just feel like a bullet sponge, and the cover system usually makes it so whenever you're trying to hit a button in the world by pressing F on a touchscreen, you would lean left to the right of it instead of actually touching it. The melee combat, which is a bit better or at least more fun, really breaks down when you're fighting another melee character, and there's a complete mission sequence about this. If you're doing the boxing quest, half the time you won't even hear a sound effect when you punch, and the opponent will be so twitchy that it's almost seizure inducing. Every once in a while you'll fight a boss or cyber psycho, and when you do, their AI is so incredibly stupid that they'll often just stand there and take it. The loot in this game is admittedly pretty neat. There's different types of weapons, and there's also different families of weapons such as SMGs. Smart pistols or tech shotguns? You can decide, and although each tech shotgun will play the exact same as the other tech shotgun, they all have different stats tied to them, and you can mod them. It's a bit like how the gunplay is in Destiny, but significantly worse. The worst offender of this loot is probably crafting, since there was a bug at launch that literally deleted your save file if it was too big. Yeah, that's a thing. And crafting altogether didn't really matter. You might as well sell all components since the guns you pick up are stronger anyway. Also, sell any sort of consumables that aren't the 90 health things that you can get throughout the game. You won't be needing those. Armor and clothes in this game are a complete joke. This is another advertised tactic saying that whatever you wore changed how the world acts around you. Since we already established that the zombies in Night City have less of an AI than the trainees of Modern Warfare 2's SSDD that are bumping the rap music, you really think they care about what they look like? No, they don't. Wear whatever has the best armor, since this game is an action game after all. Who cares? What a complete joke. One of the few things you can do in this city is go to a cyberdock to enhance your cyberware. It sounds really cool. You can get a double jump, increase your quick hack RAM, give you mantis arms, or in my case, turn into a low budget Iron Man suit. The options here are very limited, as in there is only really 3 that affect gameplay. Speaking of affecting gameplay, we got a skill tree in this game, and while it sounds great, most of these skills you get are nothing but stat increases. 5% more handgun damage, baby! Some of these don't even work or have a purpose. It's like the thing that we're supposed to be for got taken out and just has no practical use at all, but they just kept it in the game. That leads us to the last part of the combat, the quick hacking. Quick hacking sounds great, don't it? Able to hack into your enemies, short circuit their brain, or look directly at the cameras and distract them. That's really all you can do. I guess you can also reboot optics if you want to try being stealthy, but this game is so easy you might as well just go in guns blazing past the opening missions. And those missions you're actually forced to do whatever they want you to do anyway. This game really tries to give the illusion that the player has control, just to make it go on a rails looter shooter. Well, that's just the combat, and as I stated earlier, the side missions are where this game shines mostly. You see, I talked about the gigs earlier, and those style missions are just awful, and there are a lot, and I mean a lot of them. They're essentially just do a thing over and over again, no difference, no substance, just repeat it all for money. Stay away from these if you value your, consciousness. You can also buy cars. I would also stay away from these since there is no point. You can fast travel to almost every single side mission in this game, and you gain so many vehicles through them that there's no really point in buying any. Maybe if you could customize them, but there is absolutely no customization at all in this game from the moment you make your character at the beginning. Want to get a haircut? Nope. How about a tattoo? Nah. Change the color of my car? Of course not. For a game that was marketed as an RPG, they sure took out almost every RPG element in this game. But hey, how can I expect that from a game that has its shadows looking like the beta version of a Gmod player model? On top of all this, there are so many quality of life options missing in this game. The one that really bothered me was the minimap's waypoint system. Not only is it wrong 90% of the time, but it's also so small that when I'm driving and a turn is coming up, I almost always miss that turn. And this is something I just don't understand how they could have messed up. The answer for this is literally already in the game. There's a series of straight racing missions where the waypoint is literally on the road in front of you, telling you where to go. Why was this not implemented in the main open world part of the game? It would have been so easy to make sense lore-wise too. Just having your cybernetics, it just completely baffles me. And on top of all this, and I didn't write this in the script at all, just look at the UI, specifically at the map of this game. How can you find anything going on in this cluster? Alright, I got two more things I want to talk about before we wrap up this review. Let's start with the 8-year build-up and hype this game got. Time and time again, CD Projekt Red were giving out a promise on how good and alive this game was going to be. I want to dive into that just a little bit further. So here's a list of every single lie that CD Projekt Red made in the gameplay trailer from August 2018. This game is supposedly an RPG. Maybe it is loosely, but it's more of an action game than anything else. Character backstory isn't this deep, but they might have changed it. However, they said change the way you play the story, and no, it doesn't. You end up being a merc no matter what you do. You can't change your body type at all in this game. The deep character customization is changing your genital size. That's it. On top of all this, once you set the character, your customization is finished. There are no ways to even get a haircut or a tattoo in this game. The gameplay trailer touts environmental takedowns. They are not in this game. Every takedown in this game is the same animation. You didn't have to drag a body to hide it. Also, whether you kill or just do a non-lethal takedown doesn't really matter. Fully destructible environments. Yes, the gameplay trailer section has a destructible environment, but that's the only spot in the actual game where a wall can break like that. It shows some third-person cutscenes in the trailer. The only time you see it is at the end of the game. Although, this could have easily been changed in development. Really no harm here, but I thought I'd mention it. You can't interact with the world besides hitting a button by hovering over it and clicking once. And you can't interact with people at all. The only exception to this is in missions. There is no weather news system at all in this game. Unless you talk about the breaking news on the radio. Either way, it's not in your apartment. There's also no brain dance option in your apartment, as they are only available in missions, even if you buy more of them. You can't stash your weapons for all to see in your apartment. Same goes for grabbing your jacket and clothes out of the closet. The clothes don't add special perks, not the clothing mods such as resistance, but a perk, giving 5% more street cred per se. There is no NPC riding on a scooter in the video game. This was a bit of a meme. Nearly nothing in the open world has any purpose at all. The open world, once again, is not interactive at all. Yes, you can buy things and buy a hooker, and that's it. The to add with the vending machine moment in the trailer doesn't exist anywhere in this game. Also, ads do not change specific to V at all. Elevators only has many options as the mission needs, no 5 levels worth of floors. There are loading screens in this game, fast travels, and some missions as well. There is no community system at all in this game. People walk around and spawn and despawn aimlessly. Cars drive around like they're on a rail and also spawn and despawn randomly. This isn't the most believable city in any open world to date, not even in this century. Grand Theft Auto 3 has a more believable city than this. NPCs are not all different. The exact same NPC can spawn in front of you twice. Also, if you wait in the system for 8 hours, all that changes is the time of day. NPCs will stay in their exact same spot. Ripper Docs don't have an animation besides the first one that you get. Gangs do not react to what you've done earlier in the game, nor does any NPC with anything in the world at all. There is no random driving sequence in this game, or random encounters at all. Actions do not directly influence the open world experience at all. They say the dialogue system is fully gameplay driven. If you want me to be honest, I'm not really sure what this means. It only makes a difference once in the story. It's just talking about how it doesn't lock you into one person who can stay in their animations. And yes, that's true, and it is pretty cool. Even though Johnny Silverhand, the guy you see multiple times, really only has 3 of these, and one of them only shows up once in the story. But as for consequences, no. Mostly no. You can say something, but 95% of the time it doesn't affect anything. You can't analyze a shard once you get it. You can hack into shards. Well, select shards. Using abilities for new pathways is sorta true, although all options you have lead the same way. Ricochet guns are not in the game. You can't connect to a network directly from a gang member. There is no wall running with the Mantis arms, although they did mention they did get rid of this. You can't bounce off walls on purpose, you can do it on accident. Okay, that's just from the trailer alone. Here's a list of things that are not in the trailer. AI that directs enemies during combat and patrols and NPC's daily life. How the wanted system works and corrupted officers. Police involvement changing within the area you committed the crime. Hacking viruses into people and networks of people. Trauma team, aka the emergency services, being a key element to the game. RPGs with faction, speech, and skill checks that affect the whole world. Quest decisions that will change the open world. Using drones in the open world. Lifestyles leading to a non-linear quest design. Nanowire and gorilla arms having different uses, although the original use is actually still in the description of the final game. Runs very well on last-gen consoles. Game will launch when it's ready. Variety of brain dances. Weather system that poses a threat to your survival. What would this even be? Little vague on the romance system. There's only 4 true romance options in this game, 2 for each sex. There are 3 sex scenes through the missions, however. Fun fact, it was apparently confirmed that Jackie Wells was a romance option. He isn't. A polished game and smooth experience. Weapon customization. The way you look changes the way NPCs react to you. Whew. That is almost 60 things that CD Projekt Red promised, but wasn't in the final game. Oh, but we're not done yet. And for this last category, we have a spot where I'm not really sure to begin with. And I'm not really going to show all these off because you've probably already seen plenty of these, and I don't feel like having a 4-hour video, or at least another 4-hour video because I have a pretty long one coming up here soon. The bugs and glitches within this game. Everything from pantless T-poses on bikes to NPCs T-posing, items floating in midair, a gun replacing a relic, walking through doors, elevators, and lockers, cars exploding in the air, your car causing mass chaos, randomly dying, a headless shadow, being forced to back about 150 meters just trying to jump into a window. Just look these up, man. I don't have the time of day to tell you about this performance of this game, and I know many people might think, oh, don't play on a console and you won't crash, blah blah blah. No, this game is unoptimized on PC as well. There is no version of this game that isn't broken, and if you say otherwise, you're either lying or you're just straight ignorant. This game from head to toe is an utter, complete disappointing mess that needed maybe a year and a half to fix all these problems in performance, and God knows how long it would be to add all the features they lied about. This game is bad, and I'm not sure any amount of patching will fix it. After 8 years of development, this is the turd that they released? I can't believe it, man. Now I'm gonna do a rare double score one for the PC version and one for the console version. And I feel like this video, it went a little quicker than I thought it was gonna go, but I'm talking really fast right now because I'm very angry just reading through the stuff that I wrote for this. So on console, I'm gonna give Cyberpunk 2077 a 2.3 out of 10. And on PC, I'm gonna give Cyberpuke 2077 a 3.6 out of 10. This game is an utter disappointment, one of the worst games I have ever played in my life. I think we have all learned to not only overhype something, but also let people finish whatever they are doing and not force them to rush it before it's ready. Because this game was not ready. This game did not have the features that it should have had. This game straight up lied to you. This game, apart from the story, was just terrible. You can watch my frustrated Cyberpunk playthrough on the channel here. Tell me your thoughts on the Cyberpuke 2077 down below in the comments. I'm gonna go have a drink. Thank you for watching. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe for more content. Comment down below and check the description for links such as the Discord.